So welcome back, kings and queens, and welcome if you're new here. Thank you for coming over to my channel. My name is Hope King, and I am the designer behind King's Designs MD. Today, I just wanted to show you how to make your own notebook template. A lot of people are really interested in redesigning their own notebooks for back to school time, and I just wanted to show you really quickly how I did this notebook template for a Staples notebook. Now, first I'll tell you what I have come to learn is that different notebooks obviously have different hole sizes. So the notebook for Staples, they're currently on sale for 25 cents, and these notebooks have 42 holes. So I'm just going to show you really quickly how I achieved this. I just went to my shapes. I created a square. And the standard notebook size is 8 by 10.5. So I'm going to unlock my sizes. I'm going to make it 8 in width. And I'm going to tab over to make it 10.5 in height. So now I have the matching square. There we go. And I'm going to make this one red just so it stands out. Alright, and now I'm going to zoom out a little bit to make sure you all can see. So we have our red notebook here. Now, the way you make the holes is simple. You simply click on the circle, go to your shapes, click on the circle. And I chose to size my circle down to 0.2. So 0.20. And this little tiny size is the size of my circle. Now, I duplicated my circle so that I could have it in a line 42 times. And I'm just enlarging everything so you can see it. My circle's not getting any bigger. I just want to get the size big enough so you can see it on the screen. So now I have my circle. And I'm just going to go over here and hit the duplicate button. Now, you can group it and duplicate, but what I have found is if you try to group it and duplicate, you won't get the consistency in your spacing. So if I just continue to hit duplicate and I do this 42 times, then what I did was I highlighted it. We're just going to pretend that this is 42 of them here. I highlighted over it. And then I went to align and I clicked left. We're going to let Cricut do the work for us today. We're not doing all the difficult work. Okay, so now I aligned it and I clicked left. So it's all aligned to the left and centered, and we have really good even spacing throughout. You really don't achieve it that well if you try to do this by grouping it and then duplicating it and then grouping it and duplicating it. Trust me, I've tried. You have some gaps in your spacing. If you're really good with your spacing, you can achieve it. It didn't work for me, and I want us to work smarter, not harder. So the next thing I do is, you see they're all there, they're all spaced out. If I highlight over them again, I want to click weld. So this is going to allow us to be able to work with them as one unit. Alright, so now I have my red notebook over here, and I actually already have 42 sliced. So I'm going to hide this one, and I'm going to find my 42 that I already have. There's my 42 hole. And I'm going to drop them in here. And now I'm going to try to zoom in a little more so you guys can see this again. And I'm going to move this backwards because I imagine my holes are hiding behind it. Let's see here. Look at what I'm doing. I'm just hiding some of these other things so that when I hit go backwards, it's just not giving, it's not making my Cricut work a little bit harder to try to go behind all those items that I've already done. So my holes are there. And when I made my own, I lined it up on a, just a 1-inch line, so I could try to get the holes as close as possible. And then I made sure that this first marking is where I wanted my holes to sit. So that's the best way that I can tell you to do it. Get on a line, a number line, and then the very next marking, you want to align your holes with that. Now I'm going to highlight again. I'm going up here, and I want to center it. So I want to center it vertically. And that's going to make sure that they sit nice and evenly. So you'll see when you go down, they're spaced nice and evenly, and they sit nice and evenly. Now, I will tell you, when I did mine, I already resized them. So my holes, they're already 0.2, which I put in, but I wanted my length to be 10.3. So that 10.3 length is going to make sure it doesn't exceed your 10.5 inch rectangle for your folder. So it gives it just enough spacing that it sits on your folder perfectly. And so I am going to highlight over, and I'm hitting slice. And there we go. So now these things are sliced off, and I have my notebook cover. So you have your front notebook. See, these are your slice pieces. You'll always have a color that matches your notebook cover, and then you'll have the background cover. Now, you want a front notebook and a back notebook. So all you have to do is duplicate it. There you go. Ta-da! So that is the notebook cover for the 42 hole staple notebook. These are 25 cents right now. I think for the rest of the week. So these are a great option to load up on your inventory. Make sure you grab the right ones, because I believe in my flyer it was only, I think it was the 70-page notebooks that were actually on sale for the 25 cents. You can always grab a notebook from Dollar Tree, and I will show you how to size your holes for a Dollar Tree notebook. If you give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, so here we are back in Design Space, and this is my template for the Dollar Tree notebook. Now, we talked about the gaps and spacing. As you can see, this is one when I designed it, I grouped them. I put all my shapes out, I grouped them, and I copied them. And you can see a little bit of gaps in the spacing. You can see a little gaps in the spacing. So it's a little bit different than the other. Sorry guys, I wanted to make sure I was still recording. I had some pop-ups here. Alright, so again, this is the same notebook. Most notebooks are 8 by 10.5. So if you have a standard sheet of paper, you are just sizing it down 0.5 on your width and 1/2 inch on your height. So 1/2 inch on your height and 0.5 on your width, because the standard sheet of paper is 8.5 by 11. So again, you are going to your shapes, picking a circle, and I've been sizing it down to 0.20. And I've forgot I keep it locked for the circle because it's a circle. It's going to be the same diameter around. And the notebooks for Dollar Tree have 33 holes. So you're duplicating this 32 times to get to your 33. That's 15, 16, okay, so I'm at my 33 holes. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see. I'm just going to move this out of the way. I'm going to highlight them all just like I did before. And then I am going to align them to the left. Again, this makes the Cricut do all the work for me, and I can work smarter, not harder. Now you'll notice this is shorter, and so we want to highlight them and we want to weld them. Now you can take them over to your notebook once they're all welded. Take them over to your notebook and you can size them to the height that you want. So let's see, I probably want it to be about 10.3 and I'm making sure they're not longer. So let's just go 10.3. What did I do? 10.3. And so now we have a sheet for holes. I'm going to highlight it and we want to align them vertically, and it just moved them just ever so slightly, but we want to make sure this is close to perfect as possible. Now if you find that 10.3 is just not working for you, I'm going to put this near it so that we can kind of compare the holes. If you find that 10.3 is just too much, take it down. And then realign them. And you can just go back and forth and compare. And I actually held up my original notebook. I want to get closer. When I did the Staples version, I held up my notebook to my screen as much as possible with the sizing. To try to get it as close as possible. And see, my holes are so much bigger over here because this was the original size for Staples that I want to take my hole size down to try to get it as close as possible to mimic. I want to show you guys what I'm doing in case you ever do this. Because I've already done this and I took out my original design templates, I'm trying to figure out what my original hole size was. So I don't want to hide that from you guys, because if it ever happens, I want you to know how to do it as well. So I am going, just picking a hole size, and I'm going to slide it in here and see if I can mimic the original size. So it looks like a 0.15 is exactly right. I got it right. Was my hole size. That looks pretty accurate to me. Maybe it's a little bit smaller. Okay, so I'm back. So I have my 33 holes. They are still set as individual holes, so I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to weld them, so there's now one piece. And then I'm going to move them and size them to, let's see what 10.3 gives us. So I like the 10.3. The reason I'm looking, I want to see if it's aligned, and it's almost aligned with the holes I have here. This is why I did it this way this time. I showed you the original holes. I did sets and grouped them and then duplicated them, and you can see it still works. It's a good notebook cover, but it excuse me, has some inconsistency in the holes is the bottom line. So I'm going to take this over to my other notebook, and I'm going to slice. So I'm going to take it over to this brand new notebook. I am going to center it vertically. Again, I told you guys that I really like to keep it on a line so I can make sure that I have it over far enough. And I'm going to highlight it again just to make sure that when I moved it, it didn't make anything off center vertically. And then I am going to hit slice. And that's it. When you move it, you now have a brand new notebook cover. Now you can cut out and test it. Again, I'm going to show you the two side by side to compare. So you now have the consistently sliced holes and the manual version. Now again, I can tell you the manual version works, but if you want to have pretty and consistent holes, using Cricut to do all of your alignment and sizing and all of that is the best way to do it, just so you can have consistency in your notebook. If you want to see it a different way, I'll flip my top notebook. I'll align these two vertically, and then you can see side by side the difference in the two. All the way down. Again, they both work. You can do whatever works best for you. But this is how you can do a notebook cover. And obviously, if you want to get your design elements together and you want to see what the notebook's going to look like when you actually print it out on pink cardstock or black cardstock or whatever, this gives you a beautiful example of how to do that. So thank you. I hope this helps somebody. And come back and I'll show you how to design a cover in Canva. Have a great day. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.